Happy Sabbath. Happy Sabbath to all the sons and daughters of God. Today we'll be going over a very sensitive topic, polygamy and pornography. And as you notice, I put the subtitle, The Dangers Within. So these two topics, a lot of people, including myself at one point, defended until God really got a hold of me and made me see things from a different perspective. So we're going to dive in it today, and I'll do my very best to kind of let you guys know how God feels about all of this. So at the end of the day, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at God's opinion. His opinion is the only one that matters. And so let's dive in. So recently I came across, I was doing a lesson, I believe, on fornication. And when I went over fornication, I figured that, I saw that it comes from the Greek word porneia. And that hit me. I was like, wait a minute, I'm looking up fornication. Why is it porneia? You know, it comes from the Greek word. And then I looked at it again. I said, well, wait a minute, that has the word porn in it. And then my mind just started opening up crazy. And that's why it's so important to have these study materials, because, you know, the Bible says, seek and ye shall find. Mm-hmm. That means you got to be looking for stuff. Right. And then God will open up understanding. But he's not going to open up understanding if somebody ain't doing nothing. Right. So if he see you reading and you ask for understanding, he want to see you reading a couple days or a few days, maybe a week before he start opening understanding, because you can't just trust this word with anybody. You know, if I reveal this to you, what good is it going to do? Right. You know, don't just be knocking on my door for no reason. So I saw that, and, you know, I had to dive in. I said, God, okay. Because as a former porn addict, I know what it's like to have to deal with pornography. So this is more personal than it is anything. Because you're talking to somebody who has the experience. I know what I'm talking about when I'm dealing with this topic. Okay? I was an avid seeker. And let me tell you, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. So the word fornication comes from the Greek word porneia. And go ahead and read, sweetie.
To act the harlot, indulge in unlawful lust. Okay, so you have harlotry, prostitution, and then indulge in unlawful lust. And some of these are examples. Go ahead. Incest, homosexuality, adultery, and bestiality.
So fornication basically covers all of those sexual unlawful acts. So that should be enough right there why pornography is no good. But considering that that's not enough, because it wasn't enough for me at the time, then had to get a little bit more deeper. Let's go to the beginning of when it all started. So in the mass intro into America. So we're going to dive into the history, and we're going to see some things, because anything that's done in the natural realm also has a spiritual outcome. So we're going to see the physicality of porn and how it spiritually affected every man in America. And I say man, not saying the women were not affected, but it was really towards us, because this is our weakness. So the golden era that they called was between 1969 and 1984. In 1969, the Blue movie was produced. It was the first movie on the big screen in mass. This was the beginning of porn on video in theaters. Now, we know they had private settings previously to this, and we know that porn existed way back in the Greek days. Okay? So I'm not dealing with that. I'm dealing with now. Okay? So this is when it was spread. You know, when the Prince of the Air was really able to use that air process. Okay? He got it on the magazines at this point, and now he's putting it on VHS. He put it in the big screens. Okay? VHS is a big rectangular shaped disc for video users. And you had to rewind the whole movie every time you used it, because if you didn't, Blockbuster was going to give you a fine.
That's right. Oh my Blockbuster.
Be kind. Rewind. All right. So, now that we have those dates, let's see what was happening in the spiritual. So, around the time that pornography began to grow, and I mean it grew fast, Richard Cottenham, also known as the Torso Killer, in New York City, between 1967 and 1977 and 1980, raped and murdered women. Convicted of 11, later under immunity, confessed of between 80 and 100 other murders. And we're going to see why this is important. Ted Bundy, most popular one, 1974, 1978, raped and killed 30 plus women, mostly college women. Sometimes he would go back to the bodies and try again. He was a sick, sick man. Jeffrey Dahmer, 1978 and 1991. Are y'all seeing a pattern here? So during the golden era, this is what's taking place. Because anything that happens in the natural has a spiritual effect. Raped and murdered 17 men and boys, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, because he would eat his victims so they would always be with him. This is proven fact. Now, you may ask, okay, what do those people all have in common? We check the dates. Golden era between 1965 and 1984. Richard Cottenham started his in 67. Ted Bundy, 74. And Jeffrey Dahmer, 78. As a matter of fact, it would look like he stopped and he began. And you want to know what all of these individuals had in common? Porn addiction. That's not to say that every serial killer likes porn. But every serial killer with a sexual fetish had a porn addiction, whether it was with men or women. Because everything that occurs in the physical realm has a spiritual result. Yep. And we can't get past that. So what was happening to those individuals? Healthy volunteers. So what's going on is that when you're using pornography, there are chemicals that are going off in your brain that are not supposed to go off that often. See, the problem is an addiction is no good on any era. You don't want to be addicted to food, you don't want to be addicted to money, and you don't want to be addicted to women or men. Because each one of those have horrible consequences. Now, if you check the brain in the center there, this is normal. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then you have the compulsive pornography users is way larger. Something's going on in that mind. The very first moment you pick one up and you look at one, your whole life changes. And that ain't no getting back from that. Ain't no getting back from it. Let's go to the definition. Porn addiction causes risk factors. And we're just going to read the bold. Read that first paragraph and then just read the 3 bulletins, the bold sections.
Because porn addiction is controversial in the medical and mental health community, there's a clear set of causes available.
Yes.
But there may be some clues in the causes of compulsive sexual behavior. Things that lead to porn addiction could include a brain chemical imbalance.
I mean, you ain't thinking right. You didn't see this, and now that's all you can think about, and it is messing your mind up. Go ahead.
You want the definition?
No, not the definition.
Brain pathway changes.
So now the normal way that your brain would operate is being affected now by what we're receiving. That's why anything we deal with in the natural has a spiritual outcome. We have to be careful about this. Go ahead.
Brain disease.
Go ahead and finish that.
Ted Bundy was an attractive...
the
brain disease?
Yes.
Conditions like epilepsy and dementia and treatment for Parkinson's with dopamine can damage the part of your brain that controls sexual behavior.
In other words, this is unhealthy. It's unhealthy. We are not supposed to be watching porn, people. Porn is not supposed to be on your agenda because it messes with your brain every single time. You know how I know? Because each moment you went from light, now you're on hardcore. You can't deal with the light no more. You know, you're past that. Now you're dealing with hardcore porn. So what's happening is you built an unquenchable appetite, and now that you've tasted it, you don't ever want to let it go. And that's why God said, do not even talk to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because I don't want you to know evil. It was never in God's plan for man to know evil. We're supposed to love only. We're supposed to only know kindness, patience, long suffering. We're supposed to only know those things. But evil came around and corrupted anything and everything that is healthy to us. So God is trying to tell us something. More spiritual effects. Number one, I'll let you read this one, sweetheart.
Less regard for women.
Wait a minute. What pornography does, it gives you less regard for women. Now, this is towards the men. You can't look at a woman normally no more. Everything has been corrupted that is pure about that woman because of what you witnessed on the screen, what you witnessed in the magazine. And I'm telling you right now, it is unhealthy. There's no way around it. Next, go ahead.
Wrong desires for opposite sex.
You're not looking for someone to build with. You're looking for someone to mate. And not to produce offspring. You're trying to get as many as you can because guess what? You have an appetite now.
All right.
On the way here, me and my sister will listen to a song. He said, ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. I'm going to find you and take it slowly. It was a song by Lauryn Hill. Now, I know she didn't mean it this way, but that's the same way the enemy gets at us. Ready or not, I'm coming. Right. And when I get there, I'm going to take my time with you. And this is what we're battling. That's why we got to have people in the house. We got to have somebody in the field. We got to have somebody here. When I see what they say, a village needs to raise. That's right. Because it's hard alone. You need people with the same like mind, producing more godly seed. Making sure that they ain't allowing them kids to be unwise. If you see them being unwise, you stepping in.
All right.
If you see them about to do some incest, you stepping in. Because you got to break it at the root.
Amen.
That's something they'll never remember. Because somebody stepped in.
Amen.
Yes, right.
Next one, please.
Unnatural sexual expectations from the opposite sex.
So you get somebody who with experience, and now your level is up here. Then that don't work out because it was just sexual or lustful. Now you get with somebody who's not experienced, and now you have an unnatural expectation.
All right.
You don't know how to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a good thing.
Yeah.
But when you have spiritual pornography going on in your mind, or spiritual fornication, it is hard to do things the healthy way.
All right.
Because there is a right way to do it. Sex was never supposed to be the way it is today. Next one.
Can't say anything without thinking about it.
You can't say anything. Any word can be related to something nasty. That's how you know everybody's affected by that. You think of any word, people like, I just said I'm sitting in the chair. You sitting in the chair, all right. They got that out too now? But this is what's happening to your mind. This is the spiritual effects of it. What's the last one?
Unquenchable appetite.
You have an unquenchable appetite. I want it 3 times a day, 7 days a week. That is not healthy.
No, it's not.
It's not. God never intended you just be humping like rabbits all day long. Without getting to know each other. Where is that intimate part at? But when you have a generation of young men being raised on pornography, that is all that they think about, because that was all I thought about. I did not see a woman as a respectable individual. I saw her as practice. And everybody in the group was thinking the same thing. And then you had the group of females with their mindset the same way they had been exposed. And now you got a group of teenagers, a group of adolescents, all thinking some weird stuff, and all kind of crazy stuff can go on, even inside your own household.
Come on.
Brothers and sisters doing it to one another.
Wow.
So what has it done? Porn has turned what is supposed to be healthy sex and pleasure into a lustful desire of dominance and control.
All right.
Dominance and control. This is what they want. This is what it teaches us. It don't teach you to love your mate and, produce and have harmony. It teaches you dominance and control. And that's why when you look at how those serial killers operated, they were in dominance and control.
All right.
Raping and killing women, and they got their desires from pornography. Did we read Ted Bundy? Let's read Ted Bundy. We went over Ted Bundy already, right? Let's see what he said about porno. Ted Bundy, go ahead.
Ted Bundy was an attractive, intelligent, charming young man. He grew up in a religious household in a religious community.
So he knew better. Okay, go ahead.
At a young age, he discovered a pornographic magazine in his neighbor's trash.
Now, what was he even doing now? I'm going to find you. He just walking around. I'm going to find you. He probably was being a good child, seen something on the ground, put it in there, and was like, what was that? And take it slowly.
Come on.
And what happened after that? Go ahead.
He claimed to develop an addiction to pornography early on.
It was over with. That's why you were never supposed to touch the tree. Because it builds immoral appetites.
Wow.
Because once you taste it, that's all you want. That's why the drug addicts go back for it more and more, because they looking for that first high.
Right.
It's an addiction, and it comes just like that. Go ahead.
After finding that first magazine, he kept seeking more pornographic materials.
Because the magazine wasn't enough.
And eventually he looked for more and more hardcore literature. Until he was consuming violent pornography.
It got so bad to where he wasn't being satisfied by the normal light stuff. He had to get to some hardcore stuff, like I was saying earlier. Dominance and control. And as you can see, I'm going to take it slowly. with you. Let me show you everything.
Mm-hmm.
I am the prince of the air.
Huh.
I have everything you need.
Mm-hmm.
All your heart's desires, I can provide you with everything.
Uh-huh.
Just spend time with me and I'll take care of you.
Huh.
He comes
Okay.
nice and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, you trying to commit suicide over a condition that he helped develop.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
He spent a few years in a stage where he would just look at violent pornography, but his fantasies progressed to thoughts about real women. He described the need to commit these acts with actual women as a frenzy or a compulsion. Eventually something snapped, and he began raping and killing women. Bundy killed at least 30 women.
He killed 30 women, and that's just the ones that they know about. That's just the ones that they know about. Go ahead.
He raped, sodomized, or otherwise sexually violated most of his victims, acting out the fantasies he had developed from hardcore pornography.
He was trying to reenact. Because what nobody told him, hey, those are actors. Your everyday girl is not like that. Because the way we think it, all girls are like this. It's not like that. And you have to deal with a corrupted mind. You have to reprogram everything that you polluted your mind with. And that is not easy. So you're dealing with a condition, right? And then things begin to change. Now I see why Paul told Timothy this. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9. What did he say?
In like manner also, let women adorn themselves in modest apparel.
Okay, so he said, women adorn yourself. I need y'all to wear modest apparel. Go ahead.
With shamefacedness and sobriety.
Not
with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array.
Because these guys out here, they have problems. And when they see the shape of a woman, bells go off. Especially if they come from a world of pornography. So what we're witnessing is individuals growing up on porn, picking their mate according to what they see. You already know what this female can provide you because she half naked.
All right.
Shorts up to here, you can see everything. How is that going to help me in my addiction? It's only going to give me more of an appetite.
Right.
That's why Paul said a long time ago, like, hey, they already ignorant without porn. Let them get their hands with it, and we got a whole nother problem. Broken homes. Broken homes after broken homes because it is lust at first sight.
Not love.
I tell people all the time, there is no way to get to a woman's mind if all we see is that body. Because we are fit, we choose with our eyes. And we can't say, well, wait a minute, I do this, that's that time and this and that, and I do this to feel attractive. Well, how did this young lady get these kids? With what she wearing? Let me tell you something, a dude gonna find you regardless. You don't have to show your whole entire body.
No, you don't.
That's for the prostitutes, but that's not for the women of God. So we got to correct that. I can't be walking in and seeing everything and I'm supposed to be okay. You're dealing with men with addictions. Addictions are real. So we have to use it wisely. Use wisdom around these men. Why do you think marriages were more broken when women became working in the workforce? That's because Miss Jones coming there with that tight skirt on. The secretary, all nice to you every day. Oh, whatever you need.
Okay.
Don't forget about what's at home, man. Better keep your eyes on your house. Because the Bible said he who troubles his house inherits the wind.
All right.
You lose everything. Now you're paying child support and alimony.
Right.
So let's see the transition. So this is the 1900s. 1950s, it was a little modest. Oh, Lord, 2000s.
50 years later.
50 years later, boy, we are out of here. Do y'all see the change there? And all the while, she thinking everybody love her and everything. We want what you got. We want what you got. We like the way you shake it. We like the what you show. And then they got all these songs out here. Let me tell you something. That is the biggest pornography song I ever heard in my life by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. And they're pushing that upon the young girls. Can you believe that? I mean, my God.
Prince of the Air.
But they own it. That's why when you see them stand on that podium and they getting their award, that's not the same God, people.
All right.
That is not the same God.
All right.
So now, I hope y'all got the understanding from the pornography and how it's bad, because I did that first to show you about the polygamy.
Okay.
We need to deal with it. I've seen a lot of people talking about it, but we're going to get some understanding on it today. Polygamy. Go ahead and read the definition, sweetie.
The practice or custom of having more than one wife or husband at the same time.
Ooh, that sounds like a lot of trouble. But polygamy is having more than one wife or husband. I've never seen the husband side.
Right.
It's called something else. I forgot what it's called.
Okay, yeah, I've never seen it before, but if it is another name, I'm unaware of it. But I've never witnessed in the Bible of a man having two husbands. I mean, a woman having two husbands. Pardon me. So I can't deal with it like that. I got to deal with it biblical. We're going to do biblical. I got to deal with the Bible. And plus, I have yet to hear a man say he'd be okay with that.
Right. He would not.
Because I ask every time, and they all say, I thought it was all love, baby.
It's called polyandry.
Polyandry. Thank you. So that's polyandry. That's a woman with two men.
Yeah.
Whew. Oh, Lord. All right. So we're going to dive in the Bible on this one. We're going to start in Genesis chapter 4. Genesis 4 and 16, because we got to start from the beginning. And who was the first one to have multiple wives? Because I guarantee you it wasn't the sons of God.
Okay.
Genesis 4 and 16. When you get there, go ahead and read.
And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden.
Yes.
And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he builded a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mehuel, and Mehuel begat Methuselah, and Methuselah begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto him two wives.
He took how many?
Two wives.
He was the son of who?
Cain.
Cain. He wasn't the son of Adam. He was the son of a rebellious individual who wanted to do what he wanted to do, who was jealous-hearted and did not follow God. And his son did the same thing. Skip down to 23.
And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. You wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt.
Hey, look, the sons of Cain, they do whatever they want. They say 20% of men are responsible for 80% of the babies. Now, I don't know how much of that is true, but I guarantee you, most of those guys are the sons of Cain. Sons of Cain know how to look good, smell good, say the right things. They give you all your fantasies and fulfill them, but they are no good. So the son of Cain was the first one to have more than one wife.
Okay.
It wasn't Adam's son Seth, it was Cain. He was the first one. And the Bible says that Cain was omitted from the genealogy because of his rebellion. You find that in Luke. And he was not even mentioned in the genealogy going down to Adam because of what he did. And it said, then men began to call upon the name of the Lord. Are you still there? All right, we're gonna move forward. Now let's go to Genesis 15. So first of all, the first one who took 2 wives was the son of a murderer. They started that. The sons of Cain started that. Okay. Now let's take a look at Abraham. Abraham, Genesis 15 and verse 1. Genesis 15 and verse 1. Go ahead.
After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward.
Yes.
And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus.
So at this time, Abraham did not have a son. So God telling him, like, look, I'm gonna raise you up a seed. He say, look, I already got somebody in my house. Well, what am I gonna have to lead me forward? Because men, we want to build legacies. Right. That's why we name our sons after ourselves. Right. That first male is called usually junior or the third because we're trying to keep our name alive after we die. So go ahead. What did God tell him?
And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed. And lo, one born in my house is my heir.
He said, look, I don't have a seed, but look, I got one in my house. He was born here. It belongs to my slave. He can be, he can be the heir. And what God said?
And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir.
He say, look, he ain't going to be your heir. I got somebody for you. You're going to have a child. You're going to have a son, Abraham. But God don't move as fast as we would like him to. Right. And so sometimes we like to take matters into our own hands. That's it. Let's go to Genesis 16 and 1. Genesis 16 is 1. Go ahead.
Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children. And she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, Behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid.
Yes.
It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai.
So did Abraham go looking for a wife?
No.
Absolutely not.
But
she wanted a child for her husband. This was the greatest honor you can give your husband is an offspring. Right. So she desperately wanted it. And Abraham being a man, okay. Where's she at? He ain't gonna argue with that. I am gonna have a son, the Lord said. Go ahead and read.
And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan.
Yes.
And gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife.
To be his what?
His wife.
Because there's a rule. We're going to touch on that rule. So once he laid with her, she became his wife. Go ahead. Keep reading.
And he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes.
And as soon as she had a child, what happened? Confusion.
All right.
Now the slave woman looking at Sarah like, Now can you imagine this in a 2-woman household with one man? One can have a child and one can't? Does that sound like a peaceful environment? I don't think so. Anything out of order is chaotic.
That's right.
Sometimes God will let you do something just to see what's going to happen. Now you decide what you want to do. But I'm showing you that women was never supposed to be be in groups like this for a long period of time. And if you don't believe that, I work at a school full of women, and that's all they talk about, arguing back and forth. Favoritism for the principal. Ready to tear each other's hair out. Black against Mexican. It's foolishness. Is that it? And let's see what happened in Genesis 21. So she didn't make this woman sleep with her husband. And now she all kind of upset. She didn't mad at the woman. I don't like, she despised, looking at me, despised and this and that. Now she's trying to get, but it was on her, right?
All right. She did it.
She's the one who did that.
That's right.
Go ahead, 21:1. Go ahead.
And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said. And the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken.
Because God made a promise, say, Abraham, you're going to have a son. So God is fulfilling that. Go ahead.
For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age.
Yes.
At the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac.
And she called him Isaac.
Right.
Now, and they lived happily ever after. Hagar and Ishmael, Abraham, Isaac, and Sarah. Skip down to verse 9 and see what happened.
And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had born unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son.
He said, the son that you made me have? That ain't her son, that's my son. But when them emotions get involved, you wind up doing something like, I think I made a mistake. I got a child now, she needs to move around. Because no woman want to be sharing her man. You ask them. You ask the woman. They don't want to share. Go ahead.
For the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son.
Of course it was grievous. You know, he did what she asked. And then now, when he get a son, you know, Abraham thinking like, okay, cool, you know, I'm going to take care of everybody. I love y'all. This ain't going to work. This is, I know I made you do it, but she got to go. And God allowed it because he knew I need Abraham in his right mind. And if I don't split these people up, it's going to be war in the house.
All right.
It's going to be war because people favor people.
Right.
You may like someone that they favor you more. You may like someone because they look like you more.
All right, come on.
And now they getting all the attention. It is almost nearly impossible to give everybody the same equal amount of attention.
It is.
You're going to have a favorite child. It's going to happen. But it's how you use that. That's what matters. But you're going to have one that you connect with. And what if it's to the wife that you love? Let's see how Jacob went through it. Did we finish that?
Verse 12.
Verse 12, go ahead.
And God said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman. And all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice. For in Isaac shall thy seed be called. He
said, I gave the promise in Isaac. Because God is a God of covenant.
Right.
God don't tell you something, then you intervene and change it and think he gonna roll with you. I told you he was gonna have a son, now you got chaos. You should have stayed still and know what? That I am God.
He had to learn.
But unfortunately, like I say, God don't move quickly. I'm sorry, you just don't. That's why they came. I know why they came up with that song. May not come when you want them, but they'll be there right on time. Somebody had been waiting.
Oh, yeah.
And they nearly lost it, and there it was. Oh, man, what? God looking at him like, I've been looking for you, man.
All right.
All right, let's go to Jacob, because Isaac kept it 100. He said, look, I'm going to deal with one woman. Okay, I seen what my daddy did. I'm going to deal with one woman. All right, let's go to Jacob. Let's skip Isaac, go to Jacob, because Jacob, he didn't learn his lesson. Jacob, it wasn't his fault either. It wasn't his fault.
Okay, whose was it?
Genesis 29.
He liked this message.
Genesis 29. Let's see how Jacob got caught up in the foolery. Genesis 29 and 16. 29 and 16. Go ahead.
And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Okay, so this is after the Esau and Jacob incident, and they told Jacob to go to Laban, his mom Rebecca's brother's house, and he's there now. When he got there, he's seen the daughters, and he said, "Hey, something happened. Go ahead." Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. So Leah was a little hard to look at. You know, maybe she had a mole or something. I don't know. And Rachel was well-favored. Okay, she was beautiful. Go ahead. And Jacob loved Rachel. And that lets you know this woman probably had her head covered. And a man fell in love just looking at her. That lets you know you don't need to show your body.
Right.
We men, we know what we want.
All right.
And we're going to do whatever it takes to get it.
Right.
We'll work how long it takes. Oh, 20 years? Okay. Go ahead. And said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. Skip down to 20. Go ahead. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel. And they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. Hey, he don't really know what's going on. He just know that I love this woman. It was love at first sight. It was love. And she was in a property. I'm sure she wasn't walking around just everything hanging out. I'm sure she was clothed properly. Go ahead. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. Yes. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. So Laban is preparing a feast to give Rachel to Jacob. Go ahead. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him. Yes. And he went in unto her. I guess it must have been some kind of party. Because Laban was able to give Leah to Jacob instead of Rachel. That's why, hey, you better be calm. That alcohol, you have a good time. I'm going to get my wife. 2 over here.
He waited.
Verse 25, go ahead. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, what is this thou hast done to me? He looked, man, what is this? Where Rachel at? She's tender-eyed. Go ahead. I'm just trying to give y'all an experience. Okay. Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? He said, look, you tricked me, man.
Oh, wow. He got tricked. He's a trickster.
Whether he got tricked or not, hey, that's what the book says.
Right.
He over there, he said, look, you didn't trick me. Maybe she was wearing a mask. You know, it was a plague out there. Go ahead. And Laban said, it must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. So he said, look, we don't roll like that. That could have been information that you could have told ahead of time. But people love playing games.
Right.
I'm sure many of us have been, man, you could have told me that.
Right.
Go ahead.
Fulfill her week, and he will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. And Jacob did so. And he fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. So he had to work 7 more years just to get Rachel. That's how bad he wanted that woman. That lets you know, women, you ain't got to do a whole lot. If a man wants you, he gonna put a ring on it.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
He don't want nobody else. He know off the bat, hey, look, we're gonna get married tonight or what? I just met you.
No.
Look, I got the preacher in the back. He got about 5 minutes. Come on.
Okay. Come on. Tell the truth. It's the truth.
But it's better to marry before you carry.
That's
All right.
All right? So he said, look, I fulfilled Rachel, his daughter. He fulfilled also. Go ahead. Skip down to 30. Go ahead. And he went in also unto Rachel. And he loved also Rachel more than Leah. There go the foolery right there. Already with the foolishness. He loved her more than Leah.
from the beginning.
He chose. So here you got two people and one being favored and not the other. And you know what it did? Let's see what else happened. Go ahead.
And served with him yet 7 other years.
And
when the Lord saw that Leah was hated.
When God saw that Leah was hated, he did something.
All right.
He opened her womb. But Rachel was barren.
He opened Leah's womb and closed Rachel's. Rachel didn't do anything but look cute. But it was the man that God was displeased with. But that's just one of the many complications of having multiple wives.
Oh, yeah.
Are you able to love them equally?
No.
You're not going to have favorites?
Yeah, you will.
You know, we connect more. She tripping today. How does that look? All I'm trying to do is show the confusion inside that theology. Like I say, sometimes God would allow us to do stuff just to see the outcome.
Right.
You gonna get some more wives now? You don't see what's happening? Go ahead.
And Leah conceived and bare a son.
And
she called his name Reuben.
Yes.
For she said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me.
And all she wanted was love.
Right. All women do.
You know, first of all, her daddy threw her in there because ain't no other guy was going to get her.
They didn't want her.
Nobody wanted her, so he had to trick a man so that Leah would have a husband. And Leah not knowing, she just want to be loved. And she said, surely this child is going to bring me and my husband closer. The Lord has seen my affliction.
Wow.
And that's what happens when we play them favorites. That's why, look, it's not preferred. It's not preferred. Go ahead, verse 33.
And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also.
So he said, look, because I was hated, God seen me, he gonna give me another son. Go ahead.
And she called his name Simeon.
Yes.
And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons.
Yes.
Therefore was his name called Levi.
So he said, she was saying, my husband will now be joined to me. God do not like when we treat people bad.
That's right.
He should have never made Leah feel like she wasn't loved. Even if he was tricked. Because that's not the love of Christ.
Not at all.
That's why we can keep all the laws in the world, but if you ain't got no love, you just bumping your gums. You working for nothing. You got to have the love of Christ. Let's go to chapter 30 and verse 1. Chapter 30 and verse 1. Because now the foolishness is getting crazy. Oh, I put that on there? All right, let's go and see why it's not good to have, why he had to keep Leah. Thank you. So go ahead and go read it. Go ahead.
Verse 16.
Exodus 16 and 16, right?
22 and 16.
22 and 16. Go ahead.
Okay.
And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, and lie with her, he shall surely enjoin her to be his wife.
So in other words, if he find a woman and he lay with her, you better make her your wife. God is not in the business of broken homes.
Right.
Because babies are produced from sex.
Right.
And you're not just going to be doing all of this and have all these children all around here.
Come on now.
You're going to take responsibility. So you want to lay with it, you better go marry it. And God is handling. You ain't got to worry about what anybody else got to do. I tell people all the time, God going to handle it. Can't nobody hurt you like God can hurt you.
Ooh, my God.
So you can run your mouth, you can go there, you can burn a house down, but you will never be able to hurt them like God can hurt them.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. Now let's go back to Genesis 30 and 1. Genesis 30 and 1. Because I know people are like, well, why he didn't let her go? He couldn't. He could not let her go. He had to keep her. Go ahead.
And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister.
So now it's a huge war going on. You know, kind of similar to Hagar and Sarah.
Right.
Right.
Go ahead.
And said unto Jacob, give me children, or else I die.
Skip down to verse 3.
And she said, Behold my maid Bilhah, go in unto her.
So now they doing the same thing that Sarah was doing.
Wow.
Who is this again?
They were
Jacob did not go looking for wives.
Right.
This is the difference. He didn't go looking. They were there and they were pressuring this man. And what does a simple man do? Okay. Here's Bilhah. Oh man, I gotta do Bilhah 2 minutes. Simple man, he gonna do it anyway. Causing more than the confusion. Go ahead.
And she shall bear upon my knees. I may also have children by her.
Yes. Was that it? Verse 4?
Verse 4 is not on here. So 14.
Yeah, verse 4.
And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife, and Jacob went in unto her.
So Jacob, he went ahead and had a child. Skip down to verse 14. And they got even into more foolishness. I just wanted to get the drama out. To expose the spiritual part behind having more than one wife.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, of the son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou take away my son's mandrakes also?
Yes, go ahead.
And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes.
So they trading Jacob off with gifts. And let's see what Leah did. She took it too. This is how desperate she was. Go ahead.
And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, Thou must come in unto me.
Yes.
For surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrake.
Yes.
And he lay with her that night.
And all he did was, okay. It don't seem like Jacob was that bright.
Well, he got it when he could.
Skip down to verse 20.
And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun.
She was so hopeful, wasn't she? She said, I'm going to win him. And don't have any women experience that? You just want them so bad. You doing all kind of crazy stuff. You know you ain't got no business doing. But you're doing it anyway. Because you just want this man. And all he is like, okay, man. Okay. And so Leah had Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. She had 6 of them. Zilpah, her maid, she wound up giving her maid to her husband as well. And they had 2 more, Gad and Asher. Then Rachel, God opened her womb, and she had Joseph and Benjamin, and Bilhah had Dan and Naphtali, her handmaid. So they say, oh, you know, I love to see how God just used all of these women to get these 12 sons. But this happens all the time with one woman. You don't need 4 women for 12 kids. But what God was allowing to happen was the foolishness to take place. You want to make your life a wreck? You can make your life a wreck. I'm not going to butt into that. But you're going to find out eventually that smoking cigarettes causes cancer. I'm not going to stop you now. You have your free will, but just know it comes with consequences. And it doesn't take tons and tons of women to make children. This woman did just fine. And I read the article and she wants more.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. Those are 11 children, by the way. Yeah. You don't need all that. God don't need 4 women for 12 sons. So let's go to Deuteronomy 17, because things got so bad that they had to institute a law. This will let you know that it was so much drama. Deuteronomy 17 and 14. Oh, this is one about the king. Deuteronomy 21. Did I put that on there? I'm sorry. Deuteronomy 21. That's not ready yet. 21 and 15. Deuteronomy 21 and 15. Thank you, sweetie.
If a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated.
So they had to institute a law just for this. This is how bad it was, because everybody was having more than one wife. And it was causing chaos. Because the men were not doing right. They were showing favoritism. This was more athletic. This one's smarter. This one's light like me. This one's dark like me. This one looked like me. And he was the youngest. So let's see what it said. Go ahead.
And they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated.
And
if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, then it shall be, when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he hath,
yes,
that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated.
He said you can't switch that. That firstborn child is his birthright.
Okay.
Don't take it away from him because you like the younger son better. They was doing this. This ain't no holy matrimony. This is hell. And the women had to suffer because of it. Watching their children be neglected. Who in this room like being neglected? I don't. You want to be loved. You want somebody that's going to love you and that's going to cater to you. You don't want somebody worried about another woman or a man. This is ridiculous. Go ahead.
But he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn,
by
giving him a double portion.
And because you hated him, you're going to give him a double portion for what he suffered.
Amen.
All the neglect. All the times you didn't show up to his games.
All right.
But you made sure you showed up to their games. You got to give him a double portion. Go ahead.
For he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his.
The right of the firstborn. It is his. Because why? It's the beginning of his strength. I'm the beginning of my father's strength. It ain't got nothing to do with nothing else. I am my father's first man-child. And I got the name to back it up.
Right.
That's why I have to walk in honor and integrity. Because I am walking in the line of God.
Amen.
Was that it?
Yes.
So the right is his. You have to understand that God is not the author of confusion. And that's all we've been reading about. They had all these wives, and it been nothing but confusion. Now let's go to David, because he had a lot more than two. I'm not trying to run from the ones that people say. All I'm trying to do is trying to show that God just allowed it to happen to let man know you don't want this. There's plenty of people on this earth. You don't need to be doing that right now.
Right.
Everybody can have one wife and one husband. And I had to do the pornography first. You know why? Because that lets you know, especially in this era, that if you got two wives and you coming up on pornography, it is a lustful thing. I guarantee it. Because you are already corrupt. There's no way to look at it from a healthy standpoint. Especially if you come from a line of pornography. Let's go to Deuteronomy 17. Because there was a law instituted that God put in place. Deuteronomy 17 verse 14. Go ahead, sweetie.
When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
Yes.
One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest.
So you're going to get a king, and I want you to pick one of your brothers. One from among your brothers. Go ahead.
Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself.
Neither shall he do what?
Multiply wives to himself.
To add wives unto himself. So if you're a king of your house, you're not supposed to add wives unto yourself, young kings. We ain't supposed to be doing that. That's the law. So everybody that did it did what? They broke the law. And if you king so-and-so, then you might want to adhere to what kings are supposed to adhere to. But now you want to be a servant. I ain't no king. I ain't never been no king. Go ahead.
That his heart turned not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. Because something happens when you get a lot of women in your life.
All right.
Your heart can turn away. We seen that happen to Solomon, didn't we? Solomon's wives turned his heart away from God. But let's get into King David. Because a lot of people, I look at, when I read about what King David did, I may see it from a different perspective than others. Because, let's go ahead and read. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 11. 2 Samuel 11. I'm going to let the book say it, and then I'll let you know how it applies to a man. Okay. When you get there, go ahead. So David had 8 wives that we know about, right? I mean, that were named. Okay? And they're on the board. But the last one, Bathsheba, he got into a little incident with this one. 2 Samuel 11 and verse 1. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel.
Yes.
And they destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. So, they had a little battle, they won, and then David stayed behind and let them go. Go ahead. And it came to pass in an evening tide that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself. That's the hard part right there for him. He on the roof, a righteous man he said he's after God's own heart. And he gets up on the roof and he sees a woman bathing.
Oh, my God.
That's it. He just seen her bathing. And what'd he do? Go ahead. And the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman. So he sent and inquired after he seen her bathing. He couldn't help himself. Ladies, when we see what we see, sometimes we cannot help ourselves. And this is why it's important that women must wear modest apparel. Because it's hard out there looking at half-naked women, especially coming from a line of pornography. And if you want somebody to love you for who you are, then you need to put some clothes on. And that's just on period. Did I get that right?
That's right.
My daughter been, scoped me on some stuff. I'm going to tell her today.
Used you as my servant.
So he sent and he took messages, and the messages was a little messy. Let's see what they said. And one said, "Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife?" Bathsheba? And they on their way to get her. They like, "Oh Lord, this is Bathsheba. She's married." Go ahead. The wife of Uriah the Hittite. And David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her. For she was purified from her uncleanness. Yes. And she returned unto her house. And the woman conceived, and sent and told David, and said, "I am with child." And David committed lies, a murder, and even tried to have Uriah sleep with his wife and raise David's child.
My God.
All because he had an unquenchable thirst for women. It wasn't right. And because of that, God tore up his entire household. Because of what he did. Because he had that man killed. Just so he can have a one-night stand. So we can use David as having multiple wives. Be careful the spirit that David had towards women. David could not control himself. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to 1 Kings. 1 Kings chapter 1. And I believe we have one more place after this. 1 Kings 1. Because as David began, what you got? David began to get old, and he was, getting past the end of his years, and they did something. And see, these things reach out to me when I read. Let's see what they did. 1 Kings chapter 1, and go ahead and read.
Now King David was old and stricken in years, and they covered him with clothes, but he gat no heat. Wherefore his servant said unto him, Let there be sought for my lord the king a young virgin, and let her stand before the king, and let her cherish him, and let her lie in thy bosom, that my lord the king may get heat.
So they said, let's go get a virgin. Why couldn't they just get anybody? Hey, David liked virgins. Let's get a virgin, and let's get him some heat with the bodies. You know how David loves women. So let's get him some heat with a female. Go ahead.
So they sought for a fair damsel throughout all the coast of Israel, and found Abishag, a Shunammite, and brought her to the king. And the damsel was very fair, and cherished the king, and ministered to him.
Yes.
But the king knew her not.
Knew her not. In other words, the king did not lay with her. Because that was the idea. Get some heat, and get some more heat. But King David was old at this point. What I'm trying to point out is that everybody knew that David had a problem when it came to women. And when you have that unquenchable appetite, it is hard, and I mean it is hard to be faithful just to one. Ladies, these dudes are going through it right now. It took me a lot to be the man that I am today. It takes a lot of prayer, it takes a lot of love, and it takes a lot of fear. Because the temptation is everywhere. And especially if you come out of the line of pornography, it is even worse. And that's why I'm praying to God that my sons don't have to experience any of that. Because I want them to be able to look at a woman for who she is and not what he can do with her. Because that's the healthy way of doing things. And that's the good way, and that's God's way of doing it. He do not want us mistreating these women and looking at them as objects. That's why it's on us, fellas. That's why it's on us. Let's go to my last place. I got it on the projector. 1 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. Because Paul just going to end it out for you. Paul was an Israelite. And as he was setting up the church, he gave some rules. And what was those rules? Go ahead.
This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work.
So what are those conditions underneath that word? Go ahead.
A bishop then must be blameless. The husband of one wife.
The husband of how many wives?
One.
You better get you one. You better get you one. Go ahead.
Vigilant. Sober. Of good behavior. Given to hospitality. Apt to teach.
So the same thing for the deacons. What do deacons do?
Let the deacons be the husbands of one wife.
Let the deacons be husbands of one wife. One All you need is one. And I understand the prophecy. It says that X amount of women are going to be trying to get with men. Hey, look, I'm not worried about all that. All I'm trying to do is get things in the proper order. So if that does happen, you will have your mind correct. Amen. And if those women do pull on your coat jacket, you're not going to treat them like objects. You'll actually give them the love that they deserve. So in my closing statement, porn became easily accessible in the late 1960s and early 70s. So whatever is done in the physical realm ultimately has a spiritual effect. No one told these men that these were actors. Thus, this created an insatiable appetite for porn. In the wrong hands, this can be a serious problem. That's why you have those lines of serial killers. And that was just 3 I pulled out. There's a lot more. What I'm saying is that I'm not saying that people not to have fun in the bedroom. What I'm saying is that men and women are looking for porn stars and not soulmates. Lust and not love. Thus creating a long line of broken homes and single mothers. This is a problem which leads to me, ladies. Ladies, you guys control access to sex and men control access to relationships. Most guys are getting into relationships for sex. So don't allow that. Be careful.
Yep.
Because the same way a man feels about his money, no man wants a woman just wanting him for his money.
Right.
Right.
So you should want a man just wanting you for your body.
All right.
And sometimes what most men do, if they got a lot of money, they don't look like it, they don't dress like it.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So when they do get that one just won't know. And that's the same way you women got to think. Mm-hmm. You ain't got to show everything to get the right man, I guarantee it.
Right.
So I'm going to close out. Was that it? What was that? Polygamy requires a lot of extra work and promotes a lot of confusion. It is impossible to love everyone equally because we are all different. Yeah, I already said this. All right. So I appreciate your time. I just want to say thank you, and I hope that I helped somebody. Here in the Sabbath House, we don't condemn anybody. We just teach. So I'm not here to condemn and I'm not here to judge, because only God can judge. My thing is I want people to get an understanding on what God is, what he expects from man and woman. And it's time that God gets an opportunity to speak in Jesus' name. So we're going to go ahead and pray out. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. Peace.